Open up the door, it's Dave!
Who?
Dave! D-A-V-E!
Dave?
Right, man, Dave.
Dave's not here.
A few days ago, my wife and I started talking about the Tesla. Now, I love my Model 3. I think it's a great car. I really enjoy the fact that it's electric, and it really does drive well, I think. But I have two concerns with it. The first is that it's not big enough. And my wife always points that out to me, that it's really not as big as a car that we need. When you think about the size of it, it's a little bit on the smaller side. In fact, when I'm standing up next to it, if I stand up all the way, my shoulders are actually taller than the hood of the car, than the roof of the car. So it's kind of an interesting problem that you have when you look at the car, because it's not as big as all that. The second problem, it has to do with the fact that the car itself, the fact that my warranty is going to be up in June. So in about 5 months from now, I'm going to reach a point where the warranty will no longer exist. Now, I know that for a fact that replacing that headlamp that I had done would have cost me out of pocket around $1,000. So it's an expensive proposition. Now, I could have done it myself, bought the part for $100, $150, $200, whatever it is, and then taken part of the bumper off and replaced it myself. But it's still an expensive proposition and would take me some time to do. So it's a concern that the warranty will be up. On the 12-volt battery, that was another thing, because I've heard that happens to people periodically. I know mine has already gone once, and it could go again. So that's a concern that I have, that would be expensive. Now, we looked at the potential to have some sort of extended warranty, and there are some that are offered, but they're not really price effective in that sense where you really want to take it. So that's not the option we want to take either. So the question is, what do we want to do? And as luck would have it, if you will, Tesla announced that they were dropping the price on the Model 3 and the Model Y to make sure that it was eligible for the full tax credit. So the full tax credit is available from now until March 1st if you take delivery of a car, because the way that the government has set up the tax credits. Now, it will happen that on March 1st, they're going to revise the tax credit. It will be based on where the car is produced, so 50% based on where the battery is produced, and 50% based on where the rest of the car is produced. So Tesla may or may not qualify depending on how they set the rules up, and we know that. So going into it, it's a possibility that tax credit won't be there. So given the fact that they've lowered the price on the cars and the tax credit is available, this becomes an option for us to actually upgrade the car in some way at this point. Now, if we went for another Model 3, I could pick up the Model 3 for probably under $10,000 out of pocket. I would be able to trade this one in, get another one, and move on. But given my wife's concerns about the car being too small, it's time for us to look at a Model Y. She became really interested in the Model Y because it sits up higher off the ground, one of her concerns, and it is actually bigger. When we looked at the cargo space, the cargo space with the seats up is only slightly smaller than the RAV4 that she has. But with the seats down, it's actually more cargo space in cubic inches than she has in the RAV4. So it's an intriguing thing when you look at it to say, wow, I could get this car and it would actually be a little bit bigger than the RAV4 and with the seats down. And I'd have more cargo space available to me. So suddenly this became an interesting option. Now, I know a couple of people who have bought Model Ys and they love them. They really enjoy driving them. So we talked about it a lot. We went back and forth about purchasing a Model Y. And we decided we were going to go ahead and step up and go to a Model Y. And the funny part was we went to a dealer just to see a Model Y so she could sit in it, but they didn't have one on the floor. They were kind of busy. They had to have somebody take you out to the area outside where they have the cars parked, and they would let you sit in one there. But because they were kind of busy, it was going to be a while. So we said, you know what, we'll find another one. So we found a friend that had one, and we managed to see it that way. But it was kind of funny how that worked out, that we happened to go to a Tesla dealer and weren't able to see it there. Kind of weird. But anyway, so we went ahead and put the deposit down. We're waiting on the car to be built for us. Now, a couple of things that I just wanted to tell you. The first is I'm going to trade this car in. I'm going to trade the Model 3 in for it. And I can get a lot in trade value. Now, at some point, it was actually worth more than I paid for it. That's not true anymore, because now there's more cars in the market and more availability, so I can't get more than I paid for it, but I can get a fair amount for it. And actually, I'm probably going to wind up getting probably $25,000 for it, give or take. I'm trying to negotiate a little bit with a couple of car dealers around that want to buy it, to see if maybe I can tweak the price a little bit and take the cash. I'll have to pay tax on that, so whatever Tesla gives me in trade, which they won't tell you until you're ready to the car is actually ready, so it's going to be a while. They'll give you an estimate, so I have a number in mind, but we'll see what actually happens. And if I have to sell it to somebody else and pay the tax on it, the number has to be within that range. So, you know, it's somewhere, something like that. So it's got to be in that $24,000 range or something. And then plus tax on top of that. So someone would have to give me 26 or more in order for me to make it worthwhile. So I'm negotiating with a couple of dealers. But the other thing is, at some point, I had actually bought a little Tesla stock. My son had said to me, hey, you know, if you'd have bought Tesla stock before we bought this Model 3 and then sold the Tesla stock, you would have had enough to buy the car outright. And he was right, as it turns out. So this time I actually took a little bit of extra cash I had from various things and I put it into Tesla stock a couple of years ago. And the stock price went up dramatically. It went up, I think it almost tripled in price for what I paid for it. And I only put, you know, a few $1,000s into it. But when I look at it that way, you know, I've already paid for half of the difference in the car between whatever this car will get in trade and the difference in price from what I'm going to have to do. So, you know, I'm down to a smaller number. So out of pocket for me, I'm gonna wind up having to pay somewhere in that range of $30,000 for the car, you know, given the trade-in, and I'll have some of that comes out of my Tesla stock, and so we'll do it that way. But it'll work out for me. Now, it's interesting because when I look at the big picture, when I think about this car and having owned it, because of the fact it held its value for the 3.5 years that I had it, the reality is I could look at it like I leased it, and I leased it for under $250 a month for the 3.5 years. That's astounding. So I'm going to get value out of it, and now I'm buying another car for the same price I paid for this one. That's crazy. That's just amazing to me. So I look forward to getting the Model Y. I'm kind of excited about it in some ways. In some ways, it's more money than I wanted to spend, but it is the right thing to do at this point. So I'll let you know how it goes as we go through this process, but I just wanted to share with you the big picture story.
What's your point, David?